Hello and welcome to Let's Make, Learn, Teach and Play. So we're just continuing on. This is episode 5 of countless many that's sure to come. So we are continuing with our coding at the moment. We've learned the fundamentals of how to operate the Unity engine. Next up is we're doing a bit of coding, and then once we finish this, we're going to start making the actual game itself. So of course, as you know, we're just going to start by going through the Unity tutorials. Can't remember if I'm signed in, probably not. So let's get ourselves signed in over here. So as you know, what we're doing is we're making a video game for a friend called the Vale, and essentially what we want to do is see if we can find it. So it's a cartoon, admittedly more of an adult cartoon than a kiddie's cartoon, but yeah, it's just fantastic. So what I'm currently doing is working my way through the video game engine, and then once we're finished with going through the tutorials and the basics, we'll start to put the game together. Now, I do have someone who's going to help us out with the 3D graphics and the audio, which means that I can concentrate on doing the design, the actual video game design itself, as well as what else am I doing? The AI and the engine, putting the whole lot together. So yeah, we're on episode 5, and the idea is that I want to develop this game, but I want to because I'm using a new game engine, moving away from Unreal and moving away from ClickTeam Fusion into something else, obviously Unity. Yeah, so I'm going through the learning and development process myself, as well as then going through the whole concept to a demonstration of the game itself. There's a lot of work to cover, so we're just going to go ahead and just start our junior programmer. Let's see where we are. I very rarely find time to sit down and do this sort of stuff, so I should have remembered. Oh yeah, also I'm learning how to stream at the same time. So what I'm doing is streaming pretty much everything. So there's no video editing, don't need to do any of that sort of stuff. Just get on the computer, start streaming, and then see where we got to go next. Can't even remember where we were, because it's been about 2 weeks, I think, since I've done the last one. So it looks like we stuck the camera to the vehicle, and I don't know if you can remember, but the actual speed of the vehicle when we click play, and we added in the code to allow it to move, stuck to the frames per second because we were updating it per frame. Then we changed it over to a delta time, which is basically looking at I can't quite remember now. Essentially, it uses a mathematical equation to determine the speed based on its vector rather than updating itself per frame. So it just has a constant, or not a constant, but yeah, it's able to keep its speed at a relative pace, dependent on slow FPS, because my computer seems to tank sometimes under certain conditions. So let's look at where we are. Let's get back onto this. I believe we're on 1.4. So in this lesson, we need to hit the road and gain control of the vehicle. So we've built the space, we've put the vehicle in, we've learned how to control the movement of the speed itself. Now we're going to control the actual the car itself. So in order to do so, we need to detect when the player is pressing the arrow keys, then accelerate and turn the vehicle based on that input. Using new methods, vectors and variables, you will allow the vehicle to move forwards or backwards and turn left or right. Now, we're going through the tutorials, and what they say is watch, then do, I think it was. So we're just going to go into the introduction a moment.
The vehicle in our prototype is currently a very low-end, very dangerous self-driving car. You click run and the car rockets off on its own, crashing into every obstacle along the way. Not necessarily the kind of car you'd want to be a passenger in. So it's about time we let the player step into the driver's seat and take the wheel. By the end of this lesson, the player will be able to control the acceleration and direction of the vehicle using the arrow keys on the keyboard. The vehicle should move forward when the up arrow key is pressed, and backwards when the down arrow key is pressed. Luckily, Unity has an entire input system set up to help us do exactly that. When you press the up arrow, you get an input value of +1, and when you press the down arrow, you get an input value of -1. So let's say we set the vehicle speed to 10. All you have to do is multiply that speed by the input value and you're good to go. When the player presses the up arrow, it'll multiply 10 by +1, giving you +10, moving that vehicle in the positive forward direction. But if they press the down arrow, it'll multiply 10 by -1, giving you -10, moving the vehicle in the negative backward direction. Then you can basically use the same type of system to rotate the vehicle. You multiply the rotation by a positive value if they press the right arrow, turning the vehicle right, and multiply by a negative value if they press the left arrow, turning the vehicle left. Just some simple multiplication, and you've got full control of this vehicle. So to make all that happen, I'll see you in Unity. Our vehicle drives down the scene now, and when we press play, we have this nice tint to show us that we're in play mode, and we have our camera following, but right now...
So I need to remember to unmute the mic. So just going to go over that again. So allow the vehicle to move left or right. So until now, the vehicle has only been able to move straight forward along the road. We need it to move left or right. So looking at this, we're going to times or so if you imagine turning right, so here's our vector 3, which is x, y and z, and then we got the right. So I imagine using the up or down is a 0 value, and we're simply saying yes or no to the right hand angle, no being left, yes being right. Anyway, let's play it. This guy will be able to explain it.
We still can't really control our vehicle. Just drives all the way down the road, just running all these obstacles over, pushing them off, and then eventually it gets to the end of the road and then it just falls straight off. That's just because there's not an end there. But we need to be able to control this vehicle's movement. So first we need to be able to move our vehicle so that it avoids the obstacles. If we open our player controller script, we're going to need a way to control our vehicle to move left or right. So we should probably just use a variable to do that, since we know it's probably pretty bad to just use a random number. So good to think ahead in general. We're going to make this a public variable so that we can control it just like we did with the speed. It will also be a float because we'll be using decimal points. And then we're just going to call it turn, lowercase t, capital S for speed. So you can see here turn speed has different capitalization. So this is a very standard, what is called a naming convention when you're programming. So for variables, we often use lowercase letters like speed, turn speed, even transform is a variable, to be able to very easily see when we're using a class, or when we're using an object, when we're using methods, or when we're just using variables. Now we want to be able to move our vehicle left or right, so we'll do something similar to what we did with our transform.translate. Instead of a vector3 forward, we can actually use, there's a whole bunch of other options for vector3, so we can actually use like right. So this will move our vehicle in the right direction. Again, we're going to multiply by time.delta time, because we want to be able to update this position over time instead of once every frame. And then we multiply by that handy turn speed variable that we made before. So now in our game, if we take a look down at our game view and we select our vehicle so we can see the values, if we press play, nothing's happening. Well, that's actually because we're multiplying by a 0. So actually, if we click on turn speed and drag it to the right, it'll actually start turning right if it's positive. If we go to the left, it'll start going to the left because the value's negative. So easy way to see how we can move our vehicle left or right. Now that's great, but we'll need to be able to also control it as well. But first, what you're gonna do in your player controller script, create your own turn speed variable. We'll make it public so we can play around with it in the editor. Make it a float because it will be a decimal value. And then in your update method, we're going to add another transform. This time we're translating with vector3 right. So we're using our right vector. And then we multiply it by time, so that way it updates over time instead of every frame. And then we multiply it by our turn speed variable. So then when we play, if we click on our vehicle in the hierarchy, we can actually click and drag the turn speed so that it moves left and right. Now it's your turn.
Okay, so watch and then do. So that makes sense. You can see that because we're timesing by the right, if we go into the minus, we're essentially dividing by at that point. But no, timesing by minus is also a plus, but in the opposite direction to your first qualifier. So let's see if this actually plays for a minute. Yep, looks quite smooth. It's just sort of going forwards a minute. Cool. Right, so I'm going to go back into this now. So if we select this, I can't remember which one we will need to select. So I'll go down here. So we want player controller, double click that. So it's a public float turn speed like so. Head back down to void update. Now underneath this, it's practically the same as the one above. Okay, so I think that's right. So if we close this now, we should see when we select our player character. Yep, I see turn speed. So if we do 1 straight up, should go straight off. Lovely. 0, press play, it'll go forwards. Oh. Try that again. Well, it's always going to the side, but why is it always going to the side? So let's just double check. Code should still be the same. Yep, nothing wrong there. Play. Okay, we broke it. So if we go back into this, save it again, so we override it all, see if that works. I want it to just go forwards for a minute. Play a tank. Put 0.0 and play. -1 and then play. So let's break it and then put it back. Yeah, I've done everything exactly the same. So if we just do that, take it out. Right, so going forwards again, right? Okay, so play a controller. Let's try it again. Public float. Turn speed. No. Turn speed. 0. Transform.translate vector right times time speed times. Oh, found it. I had it down as speed, I think. Yes, so it was always going at 5 straight up. Okay, cool. Found it. Okay, so if you press play now, it should go straight forward. Flush, and then if we select the tank, make sure it's on 0, play. Okay, now it works. So I had it down as 5 all the time, because what I was doing, so this turn speed was actually speed, which was actually 5. So we're declaring our variables there, which is really cool. Okay, cool. So we've done that. So currently we can only control the vehicle's left and right movement in the inspector. We need to grant some power to the player and allow them to control it. Okay, so watch.
Our player can now drive down the road, and we can change the speed of its movement. We can even change the speed of its turn. However, if our player is actually playing the game, we don't want to be able to fly off the road, for one, but also, if our player is using like a joystick or something, we can't just be dragging this variable around. We can't do this for a single player, like it's magic behind the scenes. So we're going to create some actual magic so that the player can actually control their own movement. A very helpful thing to know before we get into programming this is understanding that Unity does a lot of things that make our lives a lot easier. So, in fact, if you go to the top left under Edit, or if you're on Mac under Unity, if you go down to Project Settings and you click on that, there's all these options for project settings, but what we really care about is actually our input. So this is actually our input manager in Unity, and they've helpfully already created a way where when you do something, it's already mapped to be able to change that value. So if you left click on the drop down on axes,
You can see there's different ones, like there's actually fire button, so you can actually press like the left control button to fire something, or a second option, left alt, left shift. There's a jump, which is the space bar. You can take a look at all of these different options, but what we're looking for specifically are actually these horizontal and vertical axes. And so this is actually how Unity knows if we want it to go left or if we want it to go right. Using these horizontal axes, we can actually see those values change and how they change. You can see that there's inputs for the left arrow key to go negative or the right arrow key to go positive. There's also alternative buttons for using the A key to go negative or the D key to go positive, and it's called the horizontal axis. Knowing this, we can do something really easy to be able to control the player's movement. In our player controller class, first we're going to create a public variable so we can actually watch and see what it's doing. And this will be a float again, and we'll call this horizontal input because this is actually the input that we'll be tracking on our horizontal axis, left or right. And then what we need to do is we actually need to set this variable, which we'll do inside of our code. So we'll actually do this in our update method. So we use our horizontal input, we call our variable, and then we use the equal sign. So we're going to assign this variable some value. And now if you remember that input manager, so there's actually a class and a method that we can call just for that input manager. So if we type capital I-N-P-U-T, so this is our input manager, it's called input. So now that we have our input manager class, if we type dot, and then we were looking for that axis before, so we can actually use our getAxis method. So this will give us the values for when we press the left or right key on that axis, but we also need to tell it which axis we want to use. And in this case, it's asking for the name of our axis, specifically a string. Now, a string is a way for your computer or program to create a word that is literally interpreted by the computer and easily understandable for us. So, for example, if I in here actually type in a double quote, you can see it actually auto-completes a double quote for me at the end. So this is creating a string literal inside of these quotes. So it'll literally interpret anything that I put in. I could literally say hello world, which is very helpful if I'm trying to, for example, print something, or I need the program to tell me an error that's happening or something like that. Using string literals can be helpful in that sense. For this, we actually type in the word horizontal because in Unity, in our input manager, the name of our horizontal axis is just horizontal. So now we're getting the input for whenever a player presses the left or right key. And then last but not least, we need to actually go into our translate and multiply this by our horizontal input. So now if you make sure you save, we can close out of our project settings. And let's make sure we select that vehicle so we can actually see what's happening on the horizontal input. Our turn speed is set to 0, so we know that's not going to work. So we'll set it to 1 for now. And then if we press play, so we should see if we press the left arrow key, it slowly moves to the left. If we press the right key, it slowly moves to the right. And we can use the A key too if we want to use the other key. It'll move to the left. If we use our D key, it will slowly move to the right. So we know our input manager is working. You can even see the values change from -1 to +1. So that's a very handy way of understanding how your input manager works. As you press the left arrow key or the A key, horizontal input goes negative all the way to -1. Or if you press the D or the right arrow key, it goes to +1. So what you're going to do is you're going to add another public float variable called horizontal input. In your update method, you're going to call the horizontal input variable. You're going to set it to the input for our input manager. And you're going to get the axis that's horizontal, so we can get those left and right arrow keys. And then last but not least, in your transform.translate, you're going to multiply the entire equation by our horizontal input. Now it's your turn.
Okay, so I kind of get it a little bit. So I can see where they're getting. I think the only thing I don't understand is why it says get access. So if we go into edit, project settings, input manager, and then access. So I don't see get access anywhere. So I don't know why you would know to. It's even called something different. Yeah, access versus axes. So yeah. Anyway, so I don't quite understand. It's something I don't quite understand there, but we'll just run with it anyway. So essentially, it's asking us to. I mean, we can see what sort of inputs that we've got, I guess. So left AD. I don't know why you're saying 8. Maybe 8 is one of these. I've got my joystick plugged in as well. So I guess. Oh, there. Get access. I mean. Nope, I don't see any of it anywhere. We can do A and D, left and right. Right, so let's chuck him in. Right, we need to grab our player controller, double click that. Script, which is down the bottom, I've got it in the library. I can't see it anywhere up here yet. I can't remember. I'm sure you could see it in the hierarchy somewhere. That's okay. So in here, I'm going to start again with another public float, horizontal input. Our new variable, and then under the update, I think we had another. Oh, where did we put it? I think it's here. Okay, so it's changing it for me. Input dot get access. Okay, so I know it's getting that. I know it's getting that. I know where it's getting this bit from. I don't know how I would know to type that in. I guess you get used to the word get. So we get the axis from the horizontal. Okay. So I wonder if set. No, it's got to be get, isn't it? Okay, cool. Tidy him up, and then we add in, because we just put this in, horizontal input. Now that looks right. So we've declared our new one. We've set the new one there. Our input, which we got from our preferences. Input. And then I guess the get axis is telling us that we're going to get the x-axis of this, which is called horizontal. And we times that by that, so all of these get times by the same. I guess this is going to work. Oh. Maybe not. Okay, so I've missed something, or there's a typo. So if we go back in here, so I got a typo somewhere. Public float, horizontal input, then horizontal input equals input.get axis horizontal. Transform translate vector time turn speed horizontal input. So that's referencing all of that, so that's okay. Wait a second, now we try. I don't see it. It's doing something wrong, so presume it's in here. Void update. Must be a typo somewhere. It's not there. Void update. So we do it underneath the squiggly bracket. And that's referencing that and that. So if I type input dot is it because of that? Uh-oh. I missed something fundamental. Alt and enter. Rename horizontal input. Speed. Ah! Bang. There we go. Semicolon. Found it. Okay. I knew there'd be something. Play. Not quite there. So oh, I know why. So we need this to be on 1. Let's try this again. Hey, I can use my PlayStation controller that I've got plugged in. -1, 1, 0, -1, 1. Okay. Okay, that's good. Take controller of the vehicle speed. We've allowed the player to control the steering, but also want to control the gas. I mean, no, the guy's good at explaining, isn't he? So, yeah, let's just carry on with. Let's carry on with this dude.
Our vehicle can now move to the left or the right. Looks a little weird, but we'll fix that later. Problem is, we keep moving forward, and I want to be able to control that too. Just to make it a little bit more interactive. So, if we take a look at our input manager again, in the top left, if you click Edit or Unity, go to Project Settings. Select the Input option, and then make sure to expand the axes. In this case, I'll collapse our horizontal axis. You can see the vertical axis here with the name vertical and uses down for negative, up for positive. So we can do the same thing that we did with our horizontal input and do that with our vertical input. In our player controller script, we're going to create another variable. We'll make it public as well so we can see it. We'll make it a float because we need decimals. And we'll call this forward input to control our movement forwards or backwards. Similar to what we did with our horizontal input, we'll create a new line. We use our forward input, and we're going to set this to our input manager. Get axis, use quotes to create a string literal, and then we use vertical. And then we will change in our translate method for moving forward. We'll just multiply by our vertical input. Our forward input, I should say. So now in Unity, if we close the project settings and then we press play, we should see hopefully our vehicle doesn't move at all. Cool. And then if I press the forward arrow, it moves forward. If I press the backwards arrow, it moves backwards. Same thing with W, moves forwards. S moves backwards. And then I can even move forwards and move to the left at the same time. I can move to the right with the arrow key. I can even go backwards. Make it really challenging for myself. Can't see the boxes. And then we still have this weird issue where our vehicle can move side to side, but we'll fix that later. But we've got player movement down. So that's really handy. Now we can give our players full control of our game. An especially cool thing to note about the input manager is that this can actually understand input from a variety of different places. So for example, if your player was using a controller, then you can actually get the input, for example, from their joysticks to know when they're moving to the left or right, or forwards or backwards. So the input manager is a very helpful way to be able to get information from the different kinds of input, whether it's a keyboard or it's your mouse or it's a controller, different things to make your life a little bit easier. So what you're going to do in your player controller script, create a new variable, a public float variable called forward input. In your update method, you can add a new line of code similar to our horizontal input. We'll call it forward input, and we make sure to get the axis of our vertical axis. And then in our transform.translate, where we are moving forward, we'll just multiply everything by our forward input. And then in Unity, when you press play, you can test out your movement in your vehicle.
Okay, it seems simple enough, so let's give it a go. I quite like so. It is making more sense as we go along, sort of how we're declaring these variables, why we're declaring them. But I think I'm a long way off sort of being able to. I mean, does anyone really just type code like you see in the movies? Semicolon there, you just don't want to forget that. Okay, apart from the fact I just... okay, fair enough. So I just typed all of this from memory. So I guess something must stick. It is making more and more sense. We got it, scripts building up a little bit. Let's see if it works. So what are we doing? We're controlling it this time. Forwards and backwards. So let's take a look. Do we need to set it as 0? Ooh. Oh wow, yeah, it is actually going forwards and backwards. Cool. Let's just take a look at this rock. Love the physics. Look at that. This is why we're using this. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's pre-built in the engine that we can utilize. Okay, so I think next we're going to rotate the thing. So we're very close to coming to the end of this. Some sort of challenge. I might do that today, because really we want to get onto this, the project design document, where we start talking about the game that we're gonna make. So I was gonna do everything myself, but when life gives you lemons, I don't know where I'm going with that. So essentially we've got some help, so we're going to use it, which is always helpful. It means I can lean on someone else to do a lot of the work that yes I want to do, but it's April now. I've been talking about doing this for a couple of months, so I want to get to a point where I've got a demo sooner rather than later. Otherwise it's going to take years and years and years. Okay, so we're going to rotate the damn thing. Rotate instead of slide. And we're putting in something new. We're using rotate instead of the vector, instead of the translate. So that makes sense, actually, rotating it via degrees. Let's see where this takes us.
We have full control over our vehicle now. It's not just driving off down the road. But now we have some weird stuff happening. So when we press the left arrow key, we slide to the left. And if we press the right arrow key, we slide to the right. To visualize again what we're trying to do, I'm going to go into my top-down view by clicking the green Y arrow in my scene view. And now I'm very high up in the sky. If I select my vehicle in my hierarchy and I press F while my mouse is hovering over the scene, we focus back into the vehicle. Now I'm actually going to select my rotate tool. So let's see what's changing actually when we click on this circle here. If we drag it to the left, you can see in the inspector underneath transform, the Y rotation is actually the thing that's moving. So that's probably what we'll want to change in our code. In our player controller class, we already have this bit of code here where we're moving left or right. Let's see, well, if we are using our vehicle's transform, then we'll need that transform component. Now let's see, luckily, because my IDE suggests different methods that I can use, well, there's this one method called rotate, so it'll actually rotate it at an angle. Well, let's just see what it does. So if I click on the rotate method, and then I type an open parentheses, it suggests different things. So it wants a vector 3, Eulers, an axis, and a float angle. That one seems pretty useful. Well, we know that the axis is that y-axis, that vector 3 up. So actually, vector 3 dot up. And then it wants the angle. Well, we kind of already calculate an angle here because of our turn speed. Let's just see what it does. So if we select our time all the way down to our input and our vector 3.right translate, if we cut that out with Control or Command X, in our rotate method, after the comma, make sure to paste the entire line of code in there. We're going to put the semicolon to close that statement, and then we just delete our translate there for vector 3 right. Now if we save, we'll see if that works, if that was what we're looking for. Now when I press play, if we watch the vehicle in our game, as I drive forward, I'm turning left and I'm turning right ever so slowly, but I'm turning, so that looks pretty good. So what we'll actually do is, if we select our vehicle in the hierarchy, we'll turn the turn speed up to like 25. See what happens. We're just testing anyways. Now we'll play again. There you go. Now it looks like our car is really driving down the road. That's awesome. Look at it go. Just driving all around, avoiding all those obstacles. One very cool thing to note. So in fact, if I actually go in my scene view, and I'm going to keep play on here just so we can kind of see what's happening. So you can see in our game, as I move forward, it always knows what direction it's moving forward. Now, we've been moving all of our objects in our scene, if we select our move tool, based on the global position of things. So we're always doing it based on 0, 0. Our Z arrow will always go positive in the Z. Same thing with our X arrow and our Y arrow. But at the top left, next to all of our tools, you'll notice this button here that says global. In fact, if we actually click on global, we can set this to local. Now, let me get a better angle so you can kind of see what's happening. So as I turn the vehicle, make sure you have the game selected. As I turn the vehicle, you can see that the Z is changing and it's always pointing in that forward direction. But then if I switch this toggle back to global, you can see that the Z flips back to the positive Z direction of our world. So when you're trying to position things in your world, it's helpful to have that toggle set to global. But then when you're testing things, like if you want to make sure that your object is facing the right direction, you can toggle it to local, and then you can see which way your object is pointing while you're trying to interact with it. So that's very handy. Very helpful tip in case you ever need it. So what you're going to do is in your player controller script, down where you were transform.translating by vector3 right, you're going to create a new line of code underneath it, and we're actually going to use our rotate method on our transform component. We need the axis that we're going to rotate it around, which in this case is our up axis, and then we need the angle that we're going to turn it at. So we need to make sure that we're calculating it based on time instead of every frame. We just multiply by that turn speed, and then we multiply all of that by our horizontal input. And then when I save back in Unity, you can select your vehicle, play around with the turn speed and the speed, so that way when you're pressing play and you're testing your game out, you can see how fast you're turning and how fast you're moving. And you can set it to whatever feels good to you. Now it's your turn.
Okay, so is everything muted? Yes. What is this? Sounds coming from the music. I thought I could hear mouse clicking. I thought that was me, but it's not. It's just some really good chilled out music. Okay, so let's carry on. We're not dealing with anything here for a minute because we've already declared all the stuff we need to declare. All we're doing is changing this to a rotate and then an up, and I've been double checking everything as I go along, so can't remember where I put the there she is. I need to change that's it. What are we missing? I feel like we're missing something. Huh. Is that really it? So our horizontal input is still located with our rotate, but we're just declaring that as that. Yeah? Play. Let's increase this to 25 like he did. Play. Huh. Yep. She's working. That was easy. I kind of get it. I kind of get what we're doing, but I don't know. I wonder when all this will click. So anyway, it works. Lovely, jubbly. Right, so we're on to the next bit now, which says it's about cleaning code. We added lots of new fun stuff this lesson. Before moving on and being more professional, we need to clean out scripts and hierarchy to make them more organized. Really, I think I should understand them first, but yeah, let's just move on to the next bit. Create empty, rename it obstacles and drag all the obstacles into it. Initialize variables with the values, then make all variables private, except for the player, and use Forza to add comments to each section of code. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Now our game looks really good. Our player has full control. We got rid of that weird turning issue we had. So now we can actually just turn instead of sliding around the road. So what we're going to do, last but not least, is we're going to clean up our entire project so it's nice and organized. Luckily, we've done that already in our project window. With all of our folders, we have our scripts, and we have our assets and our library. We have our scenes, so we don't have to worry about any of those. There is one bit of cleanup here in our hierarchy. We have all of these obstacles, and that's kind of disorganized. It also will clutter up your hierarchy very quickly. So we can actually take a tip out of our environment here. So you can see actually there's 3 other objects under our environment for our road, our sky dome, and our mountains. So what we're going to do, we'll collapse our environment. If we right click on the hierarchy window, we can scroll down to create empty. So this will actually create an empty game object in our scene that we can't see. It doesn't exist. If I click off of it, there's nothing actually there. If I click back on the game object, there you can see it. So we'll actually rename this obstacles, and I'm just going to select the name in the inspector. Rename it obstacles, press enter. So we can use empty game objects to just keep track of all of the different groups of objects in our scene. In this case, I'm going to select our first obstacle, shift click to the last obstacle, left click drag all of those into that empty game object. So now all of those game objects are nested underneath that empty object. Later, we'll be able to really use nested game objects to their full power, but at the very least, we can use nesting of game objects. So our parent empty game object can just group together all of our children game objects so that our hierarchy is nice and organized. So if I collapse this, now it looks a lot cleaner, but if I ever want to go see all of my obstacles, I can click on the arrow next to it, expand, and see all the different obstacles that are there. So that's super helpful. Now we're going to clean up a lot of the code in our player controller script. So first, we don't need these public variables anymore. We already know the values that we want to use, so we'll make them private. That way, whatever we change inside of the inspector doesn't have a different value inside of our script here. One thing we do need to do, we never actually set turn speed, so we'll need to initialize that. So I believe we had something like 25 or so. We can always change it later if we need to. We can even add some comments, so private variables, so we know that this is where all of our private variables are. In our update method, we can also add some comments. So we can add, this is where we get player input. We can change this comment because we did make the vehicle move forward. And we can add another comment underneath. We turn the vehicle. And then we save. So that way now our code is a lot more readable, very organized. We know exactly what we were trying to do. And then if we want, we can do the same thing for our variables in our follow player class. In this case, we're going to keep our game object public because we actually gave this variable a reference in our script in Unity. So if we actually turn this to private, we won't have that reference anymore and we'd actually break our camera. So what you're gonna do is in your hierarchy, if you right click inside of it, you can create an empty. So it'll create an empty game object that has no real information inside of it. Doesn't really do anything. You're going to click on it and you can right click and rename, or you can click on the name inside the inspector to rename it to obstacles. You're then going to select all of the obstacles in your scene and you can drag them into the obstacles empty game object. That way they all nest underneath, they're all stored underneath the obstacles game object. So that way it makes our hierarchy a little bit cleaner, easier to manage. Becomes very important if you ever have hundreds of different things in your scene. Organization makes it very easy to see and find what you're looking for. And then in our player controller script, we're definitely going to change all of our public variables to private because we don't need them to be public anymore. And we can add in some comments so that we know what we did. So we made some private variables for ourselves. We made a note about this is where we're getting our player input. We move the vehicle forward, we turn the vehicle. Now it's your turn.
Okay, so looks like we're coming towards the end of, still playing there, our first unit. We've got a challenge coming up, so I'll do that in the next video, and then lab 1 and then quiz, so we'll go through all of those things in the same video, and then on to the next one. But I can see there, project unit 2, basic gameplay, which means we would have finished our junior programmer, create with code 1, and whoever's watching this, if you do actually follow them one by one, I'd be amazed if you do, but I hope you do. Yeah, we're on to the actual gameplay. It's quite exciting. So let's just carry on with this thing for a minute. So it says create empty objects, and then the guy is just, I bet, is I put in there? No, so dropping all of them in there. We'll have to play a tank outside, I guess. It doesn't really matter too much. Do we want to? See, I'd create another one there. Call it player, just in case. And then in here, we're making all of these private. Private, private, 25.0F, so float point, so I guess we'll just follow what he's got there. How do I do that? Pop it over here. Oh wait. Yeah, it's fine. I guess. That was it. That's it for today. Nice and easy. Nothing interesting, nothing too strenuous. Bit more extra bit, but we've added another episode to our library. So we're coming up to an hour, which means I'm not going to play. No, I am going to play. So we're going to watch today's episode of the Vale, which is episode 5, because we're on stream 5. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is stream 5. So I will pause the music wherever that is. I've made a YouTube royalty-free playlist. So let me just get this ready. Oh, yep. I do this, and then I press play.
Morning, Big Bud. You alright, bud? Finally Friday? Aye, thank fuck. Now look, fucking... No, you fucking listen to me. Look, fuck off. You can shove your fucking money up your ass. Call me when you stop being such a fucking cunt. Who was that? Inland Revenue, was it? No, it was my fucking mother. Fuck me, Pete. Why'd you have to remind me to phone those cunts? I forgot I had to fucking phone them this afternoon. Oh, fuck me. I hate Alan. That fucking twat. It's like he's flipped me out of this chair. whip my boxers down, and fuck me up and down this fucking side.
Not gonna, take him back on then.
Fucking, don't go being a funny cunt now, mate. If I ever see him on this site, I'm gonna roll over him. Out the fucking way now, you soft cunt. Fuck me, like.
What do you call a jealous Bulbasaur?
I don't know.
A Greenasaur?
Tony, you are so funny. Where'd you get these Pokemon jokes?
I have my sources.
I've never met someone who knows so much about anime before.
Ditto. that one just came from nowhere.
The fat kid's talking to your girlfriend, Reg.
Yeah, I know.
Why don't we just beat him up, eh? We're the honest boys in the college.
Come on, let's go over.
Hey, babe.
I'd fuck off if I were you. We're the honest boys in the college. You'd kick the shit into you little fat cunt. Yeah, go on, Reg. Yeah, go on, Reg. Neck.
Hey. Right done? There are like a pair of rabbits. He's like a dog with two dicks. Whatever, I don't even care. I just don't want to talk about it. What were you guys on about?
Oh, me and Deacon were talking about the worst ways to die. He reckons it's falling into a massive vat of Calpol while working at a medicine factory.
It's just, he didn't have to come over and like instantly start snogging her. And then his friend was all like, fuck off, we could beat you up. Yeah, Greg his name is. Greg Harris. All he does is follow Rich around. I just hate guys like that, walking around telling people to fuck off that they see as like beneath them. I completely agree.
How's it going then? What you boys up to?
Just on lunch.
Sweet. I'm doing a sponsored run on Sunday for a cancer charity.
Fuck no.
I haven't finished yet.
And you're not gonna finish, Pat. We don't fucking care.
No, but I'm doing a charity run. I need people to sponsor me. Only £2 each. It's for a charity for starving kids in Africa.
You just said it was a cancer charity.
Yeah. Starving kids in Africa who also have cancer.
Just fuck off. Oh, I fucking hate that boy.
It's a bit fucking harsh, isn't it?
Harsh be fuck. That boy's a fucking thief. Acts like your friend, but if he can make money off you, he will. If you'd given him any money for that run he was on about, you wouldn't see it again. You wouldn't even do the run. I didn't really think he was like that bad. He's a thieving scumbag. Huge fucking headed, ginger eyebrowed scumbag fuck. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you still up for coming hunting tomorrow now, or what? Aye. Weather's supposed to be nice. Fucking can't wait to not be in work and just be out in the sun. Fucking can of beer on the fucking go, man. Be fucking heaven, this will now. Aye, it'll be good. You still got your rifle for tomorrow now then? Don't need a rifle. I was just gonna bring this. Fuck me, Jock. Where the fuck did you get that? I've had this for ages. Just keep it in my pocket, but yeah, man. Bit weird going hunting with a handgun. Does the job, beat. Shot a rat with it the other day. Didn't get a chance to get up the drain pipe today. Fucking have to give Alan a ring later. See if he's still coming. Why don't you ask him, man? He's only sat outside his house over there, man. Oh, Al! Why didn't you come over here for a can?
Aye, go on.
You coming hunting with us tomorrow now, then?
Aye. Blething in about now, is he?
No. One of the boys took the wheelchair ramp away. He's stuck in the cabin over there. How's it been going, Al?
It's alright, man. Just weird adjusting to being unemployed, like,
You been looking for jobs yet?
Well, I'm going too late there. I'm just having a little tinny a sec. Trying to put everything in perspective, like.
Yeah. Be fair. Probably the best thing to do at the moment, that is, man.
Fuck. I'm just feeling like a right failure at the moment, boys. A proper fucking cunt.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, it'll be good to go off hunting tomorrow, boys. Have a can in the fresh air and forget all the stress, like. I know it's only been 5 minutes, but I really miss this place, I'm lost over there.
I'm bringing this, and I.
You're a fucking madhead, Jock. Fucking remember that time Blair then asked you to hammer that nail in, and you just went, how's this, Blair, and shot the nail?
Yeah, fuck, I.
Fucking hell of a shot that was, but fuck me, I'm gonna miss this place, But yeah, anyway, I best be off, boys. Don't want to take the piss and outstay my welcome, like. I can't believe I gotta wake up at 7 a.m. tomorrow. I've never woken up that early on a Saturday before.
Well, you wouldn't if you didn't have to go to that shit anime convention.
It wouldn't be shit, man. I can't wait.
Tim, can you please not talk about it? It's making me, like, depressed, thinking about you going and me not.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Yeah, I'm just excited as all.
Why? You going on your own? It's going to be fucking boring.
Yeah, I can't really see how you could enjoy it all alone without anyone to share the experience with.
Hey Tim, thanks for giving me that spare ticket for the anime convention tomorrow. I'll meet you at the train station tomorrow at 7:30.
Aye, that's alright, man. No worries.
I'm probably not going to bother wearing Tony's costume as it's a bit big for me. Sorry, Tone. So I'm just going to dress up as Ezra Scarlet from Fairy Tale. Hope it's not too cold, as it's pretty much just a bikini. Anyway, I gotta run.
What the fuck?
Well, no one else wanted to go, and you told me she liked anime.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I can't breathe. I'm gonna kill my stepdad tomorrow. This is all his fault.
Tony, will you stop planning to kill your stepdad? It's the last time I'm gonna say this now, but look, you're my best friend, but you can be the biggest drama queen going. He isn't that bad to you. He's only taking you on this hunting trip to try and bond with your mum because deep down, he cares about you. If you kill your stepdad over not being able to go to an anime convention, you'll go down in history as the most insane weeaboo meme ever. Please, just grind it out tomorrow, and then going forward it'll be fine. It won't be that bad. There's just no way your stepdad is as bad as you make out. No one can be that big of a cunt.
Well, fucking well. If it isn't the fucking no shag gang, fucking hell. Where's Mum? She couldn't make it today. Asked me to swing by and pick you up. Fuck me, like. These are your friends, eh? What a couple of fucking homos. Look at him. His head looks like a fucking testicle. An actual human testicle with those fucking pubes sprouting out of his chin. And look at this one by here, with the fucking glasses and blonde quiff. What a fucking nonce. Anyway, come on, fatso. Get in. And if you can't make it on your own, get your two fucking boys there to fucking roll you in. I just bought the new Nickelback album on the way home. Thought it'd be good for tomorrow's drive to the hunting range.
If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight.
Wow. Fuck that guy. Alright, yeah?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Why are you standing there facing the window?
Just thinking.
About what?
Thinking about how it all came to this.
Ah, shit, look. I've been looking for jobs all day. This is just a bump in the road.
Well, it looked to me like you were sat outside drinking cans of lager all day.
Look, that's part of my process. I just need to put things in perspective.
Oh yeah, Alan. Keep putting things in perspective. That'll put food on the table.
Look, it's not as bad as you make out, yeah. We've still got a roof over our heads.
Yeah, for now we do.
Ma'am, what's for food tonight?
There isn't any food here, love.
But I'm hungry.
All I can make us is flour and water again. But I don't want flour and water again. Look at the state of him, Alan. He needs to eat real food. There, baby. He's hungry too. We'll get through this.
I'm grabbing a titty. Fuck is this? What in the absolute fuck is this?
What?
Light lager. 2%. Sherry, what is this?
It's all I can afford at the shops, Alan.
2%. That ain't even normal. You know the rule, I don't go below 5%, love. Fuck me. This is starting to hit hard now. Look, just get out, the both of you.
You can't just tell me to get out. We need to talk about this together as a family.
Get out! There, boy. sort this whole fucking thing out. Fuck me, it's like drinking a can of water. Woof.
Oh, in the next episode. I said in the next episode. Can you hear me at the back? Tony beaten. And in the ultimate showdown, stepson versus stepfather. What will occur, eh? Don't forget to subscribe now, you fucking cunt.
Previously.
And I was talking to your mother, and I'm taking you shooting this weekend.
Nope.
It always starts the next episode. So, yeah, thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for listening. That was episode 5. I keep forgetting. So yeah, we're just going to carry on with this stuff. So, episode 6 is coming up. So once we've got the fundamentals of the engine, we're going to be doing some tutorials on. Even though I got someone helping out with 3D development, going to be doing a bit of that, bit of audio, bit of the AI. But we're nearing at the point where we can start to actually put the concept, the project, and the game design document and the actual game itself together. So have a great weekend. Have a great evening, and I will catch you when I see you. Bye bye.